No, mate, it's red. It's red. What are you doing? What are you doing? Greetings and welcome, and come and join me for a ride to Worthing today along the seafront. It's a nice day, sun's out, a little bit chilly, hence the jacket, but the sunglasses are on. This is one of my videos where I do a slightly longer video and just chat to you while I'm stuck in traffic at the moment. Look at this rubbish. So, as normal with my ride-along videos, I'll put the timestamps for each topic that I discuss. If you get bored with what I'm talking about, then you can go skip to the next one. There's this guy. What are you doing with that, mate? I thought he was going to plonk that up against my van. No, not too happy about that. First of all, I just want to thank anyone that watched the live stream on Max's channel on Sunday with Political X, and Dr Mike, what a great guest as well. Super stoked that they feel me worthy of coming onto their live stream. You know, such a great channel that Max has. I'm sure a lot of you subscribe to it. But yeah, go check it out if you didn't catch it. I'll put the link in the description down below. It was a really good chat, obviously with Dr Mike as a guest. If you don't know, Dr Mike was a big pro Remain campaigner during the referendum, and after the referendum he was a massive voice, a massive anti-Brexit voice. So obviously the topic sort of stayed on Brexit relatively for the majority of the discussion, but it was a really good talk, and like I say, I'm really happy that they invited me on. It was really good to chat to these guys. My main input, I guess we got onto the subject of my parents, my Brexit voting parents, which I wasn't expecting. When I say parents, I've got two, divorcee parents, so my dad and my stepmom. We got onto the topic of my Brexit voting dad, and it's a bit of a funny one, really. Yes, I sort of started talking about, just touched on the time how we could have spiraled into having a serious falling out around that time. Look at the traffic here along the seafront going into Brighton. I guess it's half term, isn't it? It's half term, Easter. Not as bad as Dover, of course, but but yeah, we touched on the subject, and yeah, around the time of the referendum, I could have easily had a serious falling out with my dad and my stepmom over Brexit on the run up to the referendum. I'd sit there, and the topic would always get on to Brexit. It always did, because it was just everywhere at the time, and me and my dad in general enjoyed talking about politics together. But it would always get onto this topic of Brexit, and I just had to bite my tongue, whether that was the best thing to do or not. I just had to sit there when they just go on about how the EU is controlling the UK, and how all the laws are made there, and how it's undemocratic. And I just used to have to sit there and just take all this stuff in and go, yeah. I mean, they knew that I was Remain, but as soon as I'd counter their argument, it would turn into an argument. It would turn into a massive argument, and I just got to the point. I just did not want to fall out with my dad, because these sort of things, I've heard stories of families, seriously having fallouts, and I'm lucky that my family have, never really done that. It happens in a lot of families. People don't talk to each other for years. You hear these stories, and I didn't want anything like that. So I did just have to bite my lip and just listen to it. Like I say, whether that was the best thing to do or not, where I should have fought my corner and tried to persuade them to vote for Remain. I suppose 2 votes in the great scheme of things wouldn't have made much difference anyway. But we did have arguments. A lot of the time we had arguments, because I think it's strange with your parents, because your parents, they spend all their life telling you what's right and what's wrong, and telling you what to do. So they generally find it quite difficult when you don't agree. And you don't. They always want to think that they know what's best for you, and they know, because they're your elders, their experience, and the majority of the time they are right. But on this one, they were wrong. I actually, last time I spoke to my dad, I mentioned it in the live stream that he does regret voting Brexit. I'm not sure about my stepmom. I haven't spoken to her on the issue. I just avoid it completely. I'd never talk about Brexit with her. But my dad does. He does regret it. And I've actually asked him if he'd be willing to come and do a video on my channel, just an informal chat, no judgment, whether I do it as a live stream or just a standard video where we just chat. I could even have him in the van as a passenger in the van, just chatting along, but just, no judgments, just honest. I'd just like to chat to him and do a video with his honest opinion of how he feels about Brexit now, what made him change his mind, if he feels guilty, or what were the main reasons for him wanting to vote in the first place, or whether he still holds some of those views. If that's something that you guys would be interested in, let me know. But he said he'd be willing to do it, but like I say, I don't know the exact logistics of how to get that done, whether I do it as a live stream or whether I do it in person or do it through Zoom or something. But I think he'd be quite interested in doing it, which I think is quite brave, to be honest. For someone that has to admit that they cocked up and made the wrong choice, and to come on a live stream and a YouTube video and admit that is good of him, really. But yeah, let me know if that's something that you guys would be interested in viewing, because it's kind of hard. I've always wanted to do some sort of video like that, and I do want to try and do more live streams. I really enjoyed the live stream with Max on Sunday, and all the ones that I've done previously. It's good to bounce off other people's ideas, instead of just me in the van alone. It's always good. So I do want to try and do some of these sort of live streams myself, but I'm not the most technical with these things. I need to spend a bit of time on exactly how to put a Zoom link up and then do it as a live stream. I can do it. I can find this stuff out, but it's time. I work, a family. Life's busy, isn't it? That's what life throws at you. But yeah, let me know if that's something you'd like to see. Topics, I've got a few things I want to talk about today. I definitely want to talk about Channel 4, because I haven't mentioned it yet, and it's been in the news the last week, and it's something that has been playing on my mind. I'm sure most of you know that the plans are in place now to sell off Channel 4. Channel 4 is publicly owned. It's not publicly financed because it earns its own revenue through advertising, but it's just publicly owned, which is good, because we don't have a Rupert Murdoch owner forcing his views through Channel 4 News. We just have good, honest reporting. And the BBC, the government want to sell it off. And we know why. We know why the government want to sell it off, because generally Channel 4 News is anti-Tory and it's anti-Brexit, and they don't like it. that just gives them the right to be able to chuck it out. No one's crying out for Channel 4 to be privatised. There's been no talk. No one wants this. You're going to have to spend time and resources sorting this out, but it's a priority. Same as the voter ID. No one's crying out for this stuff, but it's important to you Tories for the next election. But I did see good old friend Julia Hartley-Brewer on Talk Radio that I featured. I haven't featured on this channel for a while, actually, but funny enough, the last time I did feature her on this channel was when she was actually sticking up for Novara Media when they got pulled off of YouTube. Quite to my surprise, her and other people on Twitter were coming to the defence of Novara Media's free speech, because they're such free speech champions over there on Talk Radio. Who was the other one that was sticking up for Novara Media being pulled from YouTube? That twatty actor bloke, what's his, Lawrence Fox. He was on Twitter sticking up for Novara, saying, although I don't believe in their political views, but I believe they have the right for free speech. So I was curious what Julia Hartley-Brewer's views on Channel 4 would be, because surely it'd be the same, right? She's a pro-free speech advocate for all sides of the political spectrum. She should be sticking up for this, but this is what I found.
big news yesterday from Nadine Dorries, the Culture Secretary, that the government is, before the next election, going to sell off Channel 4. It is this rather bizarre situation where it's publicly owned, but it's privately financed by advertising. But it's got some very specific remits about what it has to provide and the audience it needs to provide shows for. Is it an issue, Channel 4 being sold off? Why on earth does the government have to own Channel 4?
Well, the government is publicly owned, I think, is a different thing. It doesn't cost the taxpayer a penny. And look, you're right. I mean, why expend all this political and parliamentary time, which is going to take, this is going to be quite a difficult issue for the government to land, to sell off Channel 4 when no one's asking for it. Channel 4 don't want it. The public don't want it, but it's not an important priority.
I don't think the public care, do they?
Well, exactly. But why?
Well, then why is it publicly owned? We've got the BBC. Why does Channel 4 need to be publicly owned? What will change?
Well, why does it need to be privatised? And no one can tell me the answer to that question, and it will take a lot of time and effort to do so.
Right, you have to excuse me today. Usually when I add clips into my video, what I do is I screen grab those clips onto my phone and I listen to them through my van stereo so I can give an honest opinion on what I'm listening to. But today this is just an impromptu drive with me video, and I haven't got that clip that I just showed in my phone. But if I remember rightly, it's that MP, Labour MP, Lucy something, the name forgives me. But yeah, basically Julie Hartley-Brewer is saying, well, why? What's the problem? Just have it privatised. What's the problem? And so I'm not really happy with this Labour MP. She's done a shoddy job of defence, and this is a problem that I have with a lot of Labour MPs. They just seem to overcomplicate the message they're trying to put across. I believe that she was just talking about, why not privatise? Why do privatise it? Julia Hartley-Brewer is saying, why privatise it? Her argument consisted basically of, well, why not keep it public? When just give a clear, concise, sharp message to the people. You've got a golden opportunity here to directly engage with talk radio listeners, the staunch Tory right-wing listeners. You've got a golden opportunity here. Just make a clear and obvious statement that the privatisation of Channel 4 is a clear-cut stab in the face to free speech. The Tory party want to privatise Channel 4 because they don't like what it says, and it's a direct stab at free speech. Talk radio listeners would love that. They love free speech. Whoa, no, not an attack on free speech. Yes, a blatant attack on free speech. No one is calling for Channel 4 to be privatised. The fact that it's publicly run is excellent because it's no interference from your Rupert Murdoch types. And the only reason is the Tories don't like what Channel 4 say and they want to silence them. Just quick, sharp, but this Lucy MP, she just babbles, doesn't she? I didn't really get any sort of decent, coherent message from her. And this is a problem that I find with a lot of Labour MPs, unfortunately. It's just, whether you love him or hate him, and most of us hate him, Nigel Farage was short, sharp, clear messages. Brexit referendum, we're going to save £350 million a week. We're going to control our own borders. We're going to make our own laws. Quick, sharp, easily understandable messages. But all this just flip-flapping, I see it all the time from Labour MPs. You need to get your act together. You need a quick, sharp, honest message, and you have these golden opportunities to speak to talk radio listeners, and you just bodge it up. You really do bodge it up. It's terrible. It's really terrible. And the same thing happened with the other week with this tarred brush that Labour just cannot shake off about just being concerned about woke issues, being concerned about trans issues. They can't shake it. You just need to, same again, whether you like him or hate him. Most people hate Boris Johnson, but at least when someone asked him, and they did end up asking him about this stupid issue with trans athletes in sport, he just gave a clear, honest answer. No, trans people should not be in female sports. Clear, and move on. That's exactly what you need from a question like that. Just move on. But the Labour, just so many of them are, well, you know, concerns on the circumstances, it depends on this, it depends on that. Clear and precise. One Labour MP did actually answer it well, but then she got flagged for doing it wrong anyway. I can't remember which one it was. I mean, she basically said, look, you're taking me down a dark alley with these questions and I don't want to go and play your game. Then she got slagged off for not knowing what a female is. I was like, oh God, I just hate this garbage. I hate it. It just, the words coming out of my mouth now just really, really rile me up. But these are the sort of things that are stopping people from voting Labour. Penises. It's amazing, but it's true. Tories can have parties during lockdown. They can have Owen Paterson bloody lobbying and criminal offences. They could be corrupt, they could be liars, they can make this country poor, they can increase food bank usages, but people will care about Labour's opinions on penises, and it will stop them from voting for Labour. And they have to do something about that. They have to combat it somehow. They really do. Anyway, I've really started babbling about penises and trans issues now. Do you want my opinion? Do you want my opinion on trans athletes competing? So a male, someone born a male that transitions to a female, wants to compete in female sports. No, they shouldn't be doing it. And you know what? Just take a hit. If you're going to be trans, I think you just have to take the hit and think, you know what? I'm not going to compete in sport. Unless they do like a specific trans section for sport, you're just going to take the hit. You know, I was asthmatic when I was a kid. I wanted to be a firefighter. I couldn't do it. I wasn't allowed. There's plenty of other job opportunities out there. I think, you know, for the amount of media coverage this gets, for the amount of examples that are happening of trans athletes is just ridiculous. Look at it. Is that like a Union Jack? That's impressive. That's a Union Jack onesie type thing. Did I catch that on the camera? I'm sure you guys see it. I'll rewind on that. A Union Jack onesie. That's impressive. What's your thoughts? Why not? Let's just have a heated arguments in the comment section, because this topic seems to get so much heated arguments. But yeah, in my opinion, if you were born a male and you're a trans athlete and you want to swim against women and lap them 70 times because you're insanely faster than them, no, it's not right. Just give the athletics a miss. You know, if you're going to be trans, which is fantastic, Jesus, I live in Brighton, I know trans people. Sports is maybe not for you for a profession. There's nothing stopping you doing that, you know, lemps down your local swimming pool or playing tennis in your own time. Do what you want, but at a competitive level, at a professional level, maybe you should just give that one a miss and do another job. There's plenty out there. But yeah, I'm sure I'll get heat for that, but it's just obvious, isn't it? Just clear and plainly obvious. You just cannot have a much stronger, faster, fitter athlete, a trans male, competing against women. You can't do it. It's pointless. It's stupid. But you know, this is what will define the election. This is what will stop Labour getting elected, because of this nonsense. They need to be clear on it. They really, really do need to be clear on it, and they need to tar this stupid brush. Get rid of it. Stopping people from voting for you. Yeah. Well, actually, a good point that Dr Mike made on the live stream that I was on yesterday. Actually, it's not good enough for Labour to just you know, the Tories be bad. Vote for Labour because the Tories are terrible. It's not good enough. They need to have a reason for people to get excited to vote for them. People need to be excited to vote Labour. Yes, I know they've got a vision. You know, the kind of thing that not everyone had because they didn't agree with his politics, but the people that were for Jeremy Corbyn were excited. They were excited to go down that voting booth and vote for Labour. We need the same thing again. It can't just be, oh God, the Tories are so terrible, so default Labour vote. It needs to be more than that. This sun's gone in, isn't it? A bit cloudy now. But yeah, that divulged. That was supposed to be about Channel 4, but it divulged into well, I mean, I suppose it comes on to my next thing actually, because I was going to talk about the local elections. So yeah, I think this is definitely the next step for Labour, isn't it? With the local elections, they need to prove a point, and they need to, like I just said, people need to be excited to vote for them in the local councils, not just because it's a default and the Conservatives are so terrible. But then that brings me on to the local elections. The local elections for me, you know, obviously you're voting for your local council, and people that are into politics will always vote in the local elections, but it's an opinion protest vote at the same time. It's either you're giving confidence to the current government, or you want to show them that you're not happy. So it is a test of the current government, the local elections, isn't it? It's what's the word? Acid test, whatever it is, to how they're doing. And Jesus Christ, you know, if if you need to have an acid test on how they're doing, then here's the great way to go and stick it to them. I'm digressing from because the live stream that I done yesterday is forefront in my brain, but I just kind of feel that these local elections, if you're going to vote, I'm all for different politics. I've said this many times on my video. You know, if you have more what you'd say conservative values, if you want to talk about the advantages of low tax and high tax, or the advantages of privatising business over state-run business, of railways, of post offices, you want to talk about all these different politics, I'm there. I'm ready to talk with you. Let's have a discussion. But this current Conservative Party is not about politics. It's not whether you lean right or you have conservative values. It's not about that. This current UK Conservative Party are evil, and there's no opinion there. You can't have a debate or a discussion on it. The facts are simple. The food bank usages, the homelessness, the drug and alcohol problems, the rise in mental health, that since they took over, these are just facts. There's no debate to be had there. These are facts. And anyone that is thinking of voting Conservative in the next council election has seriously got to look at their moral compass. Seriously. I mentioned this yesterday. I sometimes do delivery for one of the local food banks in my area. I go to the supermarkets and the Costco's and the budgets and that have old food that's gone past its sell by day, or you know, best before date, and I use the van to deliver it to them. And these guys, this one particular food bank that I do it for, started at the beginning of the pandemic, and they were doing sort of 50 to 100 meals per day. Last time I went and done a delivery for them, they just said that they'd done their busiest day ever, and they'd done 700 meals. 700 meals. 700 people in the city of Brighton could not feed themselves last Thursday. 700 people, and that's just one food bank. That's one food bank. There's many food banks in Brighton, not to mention the charities that are feeding for the homeless and things like that. That's one food bank. Brighton's not even a massive city, was it? 250,000, I think, and 700 people could not feed themselves in a country that's supposedly supposed to be top 20 richest in the world. I know Brexit has probably knocked that down a few pegs, but you know what I'm saying, and this is unacceptable. And you have to seriously look at your moral compass if you're thinking of voting Conservative in this, let alone the general election, but just the council elections alone. This is not good enough. This is not acceptable, and this is what the council elections, this is our time. It's our one time to be able to tell the current government what we think about what they're doing. We can't have this. It's not acceptable. 700 people. And That's just food. It makes me think, what are these 700 people doing to pay their bills? Are they turning to crime? Are they using payday loans, or even worse, going to loan sharks? Are they turning to sex work? It sounds crazy, but it's not. It's not crazy. If they're having to rely on food banks to feed themselves, what about the bills? And this is the thing, you don't even have to go down too far. Look, I'm in a lucky situation where me and my wife both work full-time. My wife's a nurse. We don't do too badly. Our son is 16 now, so he doesn't need childcare. You know, we're paying the bills. We're getting the bills paid, and we're managing to have a holiday this year. You know, we're managing to do that. But you don't even have to go down to the single mum that's dealing with universal credit. Just go a couple of steps down from my situation, where you've got a family of 4, 2 kids, and only one can work full time because the other parent's got to be there for childcare. How are they dealing with double the amount on their energy bills, double the amount on their shopping trolley? You know, let alone the poor single mums on universal credit. We've got to take a stand. We have to do a protest. We have to show the government that this is not acceptable. And one way we can do that is with our council election vote. You can't vote Conservative, man. This is unacceptable. It really is. And the cost of living crisis is just, it really scares me. You know, I just don't understand how people are coping. You know, if me, myself, in my situation can get the bills paid and, you know, maybe go out for a meal and a holiday, and that's my situation, let alone just a couple of notches down with only one full-time income coming into a household of 4, it scares me. And the things that people are going to turn to is what scared me. You know, I mentioned crime, but also mental health, alcohol, drugs. You know, people go, yeah, but what can you do? It's a global pandemic. No one expected a global pandemic. What do? You can't deal with a global pandemic. You can, mate. You can. It's a Tory government that are causing this, and only a Tory government. Okay? We've got a cost of living crisis. What are we going to do? Raise tax on luxury goods. Okay? Straight away. Is Lewis, I think I've mentioned this before, is Lewis Hamilton going to mind paying 90 grand for his Rolex instead of 50 grand? No, he's still going to buy it. Luxury goods, yachts, high price items, raise tax. And I mentioned this before, this is a controversial one, but legalise drugs. Come on. I mean, I know legalising drugs full stop is a lot for people to cope with, but at least take the first step. The first step is easy, and you can do it overnight by making marijuana legal. Tax it as heavily as you do alcohol and cigarettes. How much is a pack of cigarettes now? Like 15 quid? I'm sure £10 of that is tax. Instantly, overnight, you got a massive tax revenue coming in. Let's give that straight away. Let's help people out with that on their energy bills. Come on, people, seriously. I mean, I never thought that America would be before us on bloody legalising cannabis. Get it legal. You know, obviously, you got to have your measures like you do with all other drugs that are legal. Alcohol. You can't turn up to work drunk. You can't turn up to work stoned. Okay? You can't be drunk and disorderly in the street. You can't be... well, I mean... Have you ever seen a stoner get stopped by the police in the street? When they put the handcuffs on, he thinks he's doing a magic trick. You know, it's hard. These people are harmless. They're not drunks. Drunks are abusive and violent. People on weed are not. And this is coming from someone that is no way an advocate of smoking marijuana. I've done plenty of it in my early 20s, and for a good portion of my life, I wasted a good is that guy coming out? No, he's not coming out. I wasted a good 2 or 3 years on that rubbish. Don't touch it, people. No, really. Unless you're one of those people that can do it, you know, like casually, then fine, but it's not a good drug. It can lock you in and make you lazy, and I'm not an advocate of it at all, but it's the same, you know, as alcohol. You can have a couple of drinks and be fine, or you get alcoholics. But legalise it. I mean, marijuana alone is $1 billion industry. I mean, let alone the drug industry, of course. So, of course, my views is that I'd have all drugs legal. You know, we're talking about saving money here, people. Straight away, make drugs legal. Let's take away that profit from the criminals and put it under the NHS. Put the whole thing, harder drugs, heroin, cocaine, put it under the umbrella of the NHS. Then we can use that revenue to sort out the mental health and the problems that come with drug use and the education to stop people getting into drugs in the first place. But the money just through tax you get, but think about the savings that you make through policing. We're not policing drug addicts and drug dealers anymore. The prison system, what percentage of the prison system is unviolent drug users and drug dealers? Straight away you're saving money from the prison system, and just pump all that money back into education and helping these people. We can even fight, what do most drug users get their money from? Shoplifting, crime. We can even resolve that. If you want to buy your drugs, NHS centre, come to the NHS centre, we'll provide you work. All drug users don't want to be involved in crime. They don't want to shoplift. They just want their drugs. Give them some work. They'll be more than happy to spend, you know, a day's work doing an honest day's work to get their drugs at the end. Anyway, I can honestly ramble for hours on this topic. Massive fan of the HBO series The Wire. If you haven't seen it, I implore anyone to watch this show. It's the reason that I got into politics in the first place. It's just this pointless charade of the drug war is just, it wastes money, it doesn't work. You know, it all stems from the same Regan, Thatcher, 80s, trickle-down economics. It's all from the same place, and the war on drugs is from the same place as well. Trickle-down economics does not work, and the drug war does not work. Are people not taking drugs? If drugs were made legal tomorrow, would I suddenly wake up in the morning and go, you know what, I'm going to get some heroin today? No, I'm not. Because the only people that do that take heroin, have got health problems. It's a health problem. It's not a criminal problem. They need help. They need NHS help with mental health problems, and that's why they want drugs. Because they're taking away the pain. They want to take away the pain of life. I'm not going to wake up tomorrow and want to take away the pain of life, but I'll tell you what, who will? The people that are suffering, that are going to go down this hole of the cost of living and not being able to afford to pay their kids, they're going to turn to drugs. And at least let's get that revenue back. Oh, that was a bit of a depressing... Well, no, I'm not going to end it on a depressing note, really, because the first step that I mentioned is easy, and we have to be pushing for that. The reason we can't get people on board with legalising marijuana, the Tories would actually quite like to legalise marijuana. Anything to do with business, let's get money, you know. I wouldn't like to see where a Tory government would be taking that money. I'd be much safer if marijuana was legalised under a Labour government. But they love it. But the reason they don't touch it with a stick is because their voters don't like it, and they don't understand it. That's the whole thing with legalising drugs, is people just don't understand it. As soon as you mention it, you're like, what? Oh my God, our 12-year-old girl will be going up and shooting up heroin. No, they won't. They won't. But Tory voters will just do not understand legalising drugs, and they will not go for it. And that's why they never implement a policy of legalising marijuana, even though they quite like that tax revenue. We just need better understanding, and that's why I implore anyone to watch The Wire, the HBO show. It's the biggest example of why the season 3 is where they really dive into they actually do a social experiment in Baltimore where the police chief is so sick of being hammered for his crime stats that he decides to basically legalise drugs in his district and get the crime down. Stop people being worried about leaving their house because of the criminals. He puts it all in one area. But watch the show. It's a great show. But yeah, the first step is so easy. Legalise marijuana. Jesus, you know, you guys in the Netherlands you've done that 1 year ago. It's simple, and what a massive tax injection that would give. Anyway guys, I'm in Worthing. If you stayed to the end of the video, thank you. If you skipped, I don't blame you, you know. It's a long old video. I'm pretty much at my delivery now, so I think I'll leave it there. But yeah, please comment all your thoughts, what you think about the different topics that I've said. Till next time, take care.